Hey everybody, welcome back to more Political Excess, and it's been 1 year officially since I started this channel. So today we're going to just take a few minutes to look back and see how we got here. So officially it's been 1 year yesterday, March 6th, that's when I posted the first video, but it's close enough. And will we be here in a year from now talking about the second anniversary? Well, I hope so, but of course it all does depend on the viewers and the reception. How well do you like the content? How much growth is there, etc. But before we look at that, let's jump all the way back to the beginning. So early March of last year, that was right at the very beginning of all the 2022 primaries with Texas, and at the same time, redistricting was happening. And I've always followed politics to a moderate extent, and I was especially interested to see which states were going to take advantage of redistricting, which states were going to be the most fair. I wasn't finding any other channels that covered redistricting in depth, so I decided to make the channel in my spare time. So I put out the first video about redistricting in Alabama. The length is a little shorter, and the quality is a little bit more crude than later videos, but the substance is still there. I do comment on the fairness of the Alabama map. I mentioned it is slanted toward the GOP, and that was the very first video. From there, I decided to cover all of the redistricting maps, and that took place over the next several months, and I believe there's 46 maps that I had to cover, plus some maps were struck down. And in the midst of that, I decided to cover all of the primaries. I covered every state before and after, and during that time the growth on the channel was basically non-existent. So if you've been subscribing or watching the channel since last March, April, or May, you've certainly been there since the beginning, and if you've stuck around to now, saying I appreciate it would be an understatement. So through the summer, after I covered all of the redistricting, all of the primaries, I would put out my predictions, I would put out videos about polling, approval ratings, I did some alternate future histories, and I also threw in some political commentaries. One of the strengths, I think, of this channel, and many of you have pointed out, is that my content is relatively unbiased. Some of you would say it's completely unbiased. I would disagree and say it's mostly unbiased. When I'm covering an election, it's easy to keep that unbiased. But every now and again, I'm going to have some opinions. I'm going to have my own biases, just like anyone else would. The commentary videos I've done tend to be about cultural issues, pushing back on identity politics and wokeness, taking race out of redistricting, pointing out glaring hypocrisy when I see it, and mentioning the things I don't like about both sides of the political aisle. For me, it means being more critical of the cultural left and more critical of the economic right. So occasionally there's videos about those topics. Those videos seem to get much less views than prediction videos, than hypothetical matchups, or pretty much any of my other videos. So in some sense, I enjoy those videos more, but if people are coming to this channel to see the other content, I try to spend the majority of my time on those. So after last summer, I continued making videos, and I started doing the deep dives. And I did a deep dive of every single competitive race for governor, for the Senate, and I threw in some uncompetitive ones just for fun. So during that time, the channel finally started picking up a bunch of subscribers, although the growth I still think is slower than it should be for a whole year, and for over 450 videos, including at least one video every day for, I believe, the last 10 months. And some of those days you may remember I was putting out 2 or 3 videos. So leading up to the midterms, I had everything covered. I put out my final predictions, and like most people, there was an underestimation for the Democrats. There's no shame in that. I did the best I could, and it is what it is. But on election night, I did do a live stream. Some of you showed up, not many, but I sat on here for 6 hours. Nearly fell asleep by the end, and all 6 of those hours are still on here if anybody ever wants to go back and watch them. So after the midterms, that can be a slow time in politics, but I decided to channel my passion of analyzing elections, and I try to take a look at a lot of political shifts. Seeing which states had the fairest redistricting maps, that was a passion of mine. Some of those videos have a lot of data. They're not for everybody, but those shifts, as well as the subsequent presidential shift videos I've put out, they do take time, so I hope you enjoy them. So since the end of last year into this year, I focused my videos on a few things. One of them are news and predictions about 2023 and 2024. Got a big presidential primary coming up. I try to cover news when that comes out. I've put out Senate and governor's predictions again. And that might be what some of you are here for. Some of you don't care about the hypotheticals and you want to just hear about the news. So that'll still be happening. If somebody notable retires or announces their intention to run for a seat, that's something I'll be covering. Now, a lot of the other videos I do are the hypothetical 2024 matchups. I try to take them seriously. I try to put thought into each rating I give, and I frequently say a lot of them are difficult to make. There's different ways you could interpret the candidates, so I'm open to a lot of different outcomes. And a lot of the suggestions have come from you down below in the comments. The vast majority of the suggestions I've ended up making, and I've put them out sometimes 2 or 3 weeks later because there's a backlog to get through, but I've gotten around to most of them. Sometimes I think they get a little repetitive because usually it comes down to the same 5 or 8 states, but if that's the kind of content that people want to see, I can keep doing those matchups. Sometimes they change over time. If I look back on some of the ones I did 3 or 4 months ago, they might be different today. And the newer videos I've got around to making are the coin flip battles. I thought that would be a lot of fun when I made the first one. It seems like most of you guys do like it. You're not going to please everybody. Some people want political news, and they want more realistic matchups instead of just flipping a coin. I understand that. So I try to put out a variety of political content, and I've got a few ideas that I might get around to doing. We'll see what happens. And then the other thing that I do is every 3 days or so on the community tab, I put out a new poll, and these topics are all political or cultural related. Sometimes they're about elections. Sometimes they're about whether you agree or disagree with an opinion. That seems to be something that people enjoy as well. So I plan on doing more content. It would be nice to get over 1,000 subscribers. Given how I've made hundreds of videos, I put one out every day. I respond to almost all of the comments down below. I can't get to every comment. Sometimes you just completely disagree with the person. There's no point in continuing it. Sometimes the comments are just trolling, but most of the constructive ones I do respond to, even if it's just a thank you. And I'm sure the vast majority of people who watch this content, they don't comment. And that's fine, I understand that. Lurking on YouTube, that's something I understand very well. But at least most of those people are able to vote in the community polls, and I do appreciate that. So that's pretty much a recap of the entire year for me. And again, it mostly started as a side project. I did all the videos, the editing, the images myself, and now we're up to over 600 subscribers. I covered a ton of variety of political topics. I try to be more unbiased than most of the channels out there, and the growth has been slow, but hopefully it does expand. I haven't gotten a penny for any of these videos, for any of the content, but after I hit 1,000, then maybe I can open it up a little bit and see if anyone cares to donate. There's all kinds of things that I could do. I could open up a Discord server. I could start a Patreon. Spending hundreds of hours on this is not really satisfying, but if it leads to something paying off down the road, then I know I made all these hundreds of videos purely out of a personal passion and for you, the fans. So I will leave it there for now. We'll see what happens, but a big thank you does go out to every like, to every share, to every subscribe, and to all the positive comments I've gotten. There's no way this could have happened without that support, and I know there's a lot of political channels out there. Some of them have flashy graphics, maybe some of them have better thumbnails, but let me know what you think of this channel. How long have you been watching this channel? Do you like the variety of videos I've done? What keeps you coming back to this content? Is it all about the predictions? Is it all about the news? Some of you have said you like the voice. Whatever it is, let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.